Hi everybody, welcome to the turbo swap. I've been out this morning, got up early, opened up, went to Super Cheap as they opened up, got another gauge bracket for mounting the EGT. So let's take this out of the pack and have a look where we're going to mount that. I'll just bring you up here. So it's probably going to go next to this one right there, or I might even move it up a little bit. We'll see how we go. It's a shame I didn't plan this, but when I put the other one in, but it'll be something like this, and it'll go next to that one. Alright, so things you're going to need if you're going to do a turbo swap. First thing, coolant, because you got to drain the coolant out. Also, if you go to Super Cheap in the morning to buy the bits you need, your engine's going to be hot, so you need to open the bonnet, let it cool. Mine's still too hot to work on, so I'm not going to be able to start straight away. So what I might do is start with the EGT gauge and see if I can get that mounted. See how we go with that. So that's more or less what it's going to look like there. Two gauges mounted on there. I'm not overly enamoured with that, but it is what it is. That's what I've got. So that's where they're going to go. At least they've got the switch mounted on the button on the front for changing the colours on this one. It's on the back on a lot of the SAS gauges. So maybe they're listening to people's comments, and that's what they've done. So I could look at getting some power up to the gauges. There's an easy method of doing that, and let's get in here and have a look. So in here is the fuse box. We'll pull that off. So I made a mistake with the other one. So when I turn I've actually got it wired into the wiring loom, which is a bad thing. Don't want to do that, so I'm going to change them both today. I'm going to disconnect the other one and connect them both in via a fuse in here, which I'll show you in a short while. Okay, so I can't remember where it is I've wired this in. Now one of these is obviously the tube that goes into the engine. The other one is the electrical cable. It comes down and it goes into the back of a switch somewhere in there. I'm not sure which switch it is. So I don't know if you'll be able to see this, but one of the issues is the lights for the dash, and you can see it comes on bright. So as I turn the brightness down, the brightness of the boost gauge comes up. So you can't wire those switches into a lighting part of the lighting system that's got a part of the dimmer system, because it doesn't work like that. So I'm going to have that so it's just on, which is probably not bad because it's not that bright at night, and then I'll run it from a fuse from down here. So let's do that while we wait for the engine to cool down. Okay, so I'm not sure if you've ever seen one of these before, but effectively what happens is you remove a fuse, you replace it with this, you put the fuse in, and then you can have an additional power outlet from there. So what I'll probably do is you put both of those gauges on a fuse on one of these, so that the lights come on when I turn the lights on, but they don't work with the dimmer system. And these are easy, they're just a straight plug in and they fit under the cover and everything, so that'll work really well. So I've got a couple of them just in case, but it's probably a limited. What I've got to do is find a power supply that's off normally, on when the engine's running, and when I turn the lights on, the light will come on there too. So I need to do both of those things. Then the next job is to get the probe from the gauge down through the firewall onto the engine in the right place. So luckily it's on this side, and I can just use this cable here. It'll be long enough, I reckon, and I can just go straight in and back through and into here. Shouldn't be an issue. That's exactly what I've done with this pneumatic pipe here, the vacuum pipe that works this boost gauge. There's one thing I'd like to recommend. I bought this off eBay, and it's just a box of stainless steel self tappers. Just ignore the ones in the front, they're old ones, but it cost me $20 odd. Best thing I ever bought. Really useful. Get yourself one of those if you can. Okay, another little tip. I need to put screws into there. Obviously there's a windscreen in the way. So get yourself a little stubby screwdriver like this, and you'll be able to get in and turn your screws. So it's at this point I owe everybody an apology. As you can see, we started to do the turbo swap, and I forgot to start the video. Now this is Rob working here, it's not me. I'm still here, I'm just Rob's doing all the work. I think sometimes well, Rob knows that some of these screws are in tight places and my fat fingers won't fit in the gaps, so he'd come down to help. So what we've actually done here at this point is taken off the turbo intercooler. We've also taken off the air intake pipe. We've removed the battery terminals and taken the battery out of the driver's side. We've also removed the two brackets that hold the intercooler, and we've taken the heat shield from the exhaust, which is right at the back of the turbo, and the coolant the coolant where the coolant goes in to the turbo. That's the pipe that's folded up at the front there. We've removed that too. So what we're at now, we're at the turbo mounting bolts that mount it to the exhaust at the back. So that cast iron bit you see at the back there is basically where the exhaust gases go. Now in that particular mechanism there is a flap, like a Venturi flap. It closes when you press the heater button in the car, and what it basically does is it allows the engine, when it's really cold, to heat up a bit quicker by closing the exhaust flap and keeping the exhaust fumes around, because they're obviously a lot warmer. I was going to remove mine, but we didn't get the opportunity, so this went on for a lot longer than we thought it would, so I didn't get the opportunity to do that. So unfortunately that'll have to be done in another video another day. However, you can see Rob's taking the nuts off the back. We've doused all that down with WD-40 to try and get penetrating oil into the threads, because the threads and the nuts on the back of the exhaust there get really rusted on, get really tight. They're subject to a lot of hot and cold, and they're difficult to get off. Now we're down to the last one, and the last one has been rounded off. Probably when we fitted it, but I'm not sure, maybe not. But it's been rounded off, and the only option we've got is to try and get a socket on, get some purchase, see if we can get it to move. Chances are we won't be able to, and we might have to chisel off the nut. So this is where we're at the moment. Couple of observations for this new turbo before we get to the fitting part, and that is that the gasket that was supplied with it does not fit on that interface. The turbo does, but the gasket doesn't. The gasket will fit onto the turbo, but it doesn't fit in that space. So luckily we kept the original gasket. It was in there because they're a metal gasket. I think the original one's a copper actually, but not too sure. But we kept ours, kept both of them. But the other gasket for the manifold does fit. Okay, so I have emailed them and asked them about that, so we'll see what happens. The other slight issue I've had with the turbo since it's been on and running is that I can only get 8 psi of boost out of it. Now, the Jackaroo normally runs around about 16 psi of boost, and what happens normally is you get to a certain boost pressure and the wastegate opens and the boost pressure drops off. So it could be just a case of adjusting the boost pressure. However, that might not be the case, or maybe a fault, but I don't think so. I think it's just the boost pressure. Luckily on the new turbo, the boost pressure is adjustable. So it's going to be a case of disconnecting the linkage on one end, rotating the boost arm to increase the difficulty of the boost to open, and then hopefully we can get the boost up to 16 psi. Otherwise I'm going to have to get onto them and see what the score is. Alright, so we're still trying to get this nut off the back. Rob's trying to get purchase on that bottom nut, but he's not having a lot of luck really. So we're trying everything here. This is Rob trying one of the ratchet spanners, trying to see if we've got any hammer action on it, but no, there's not enough. We tried a couple of them, neither of them did anything. And yeah, as you can see, nothing happens. It just goes, stops, and then that's it. You know, so we're having trouble. So I think what we do now is we resort to a breaker bar and a socket. We put the socket on, and I think it just rounds off. So we end up having to chisel it. Yeah, you can see Rob putting a bit of effort in there. I think at this point I'm telling him, just go for it. Okay, so as you can see, we're still struggling with this nut. I think we're going to try a smaller ratchet with a different socket. Because obviously some sockets have just got flats, others have got a lot more little flutes on them, and we're just trying different sockets to see if we can get any better purchase on this. I think Rob tries once more, and I think it just rounds off, and that's the point where we get the chisel. Yeah, this is the last effort, I think. So you can see he's got a different socket, but it's a different sized wrench, because the socket is a smaller square. So we just use a ring spanner onto the handle, and that extends the handle and allows you to put more leverage onto it. I think he's trying to get it a bit further round. Yeah, there you go. So he'll see if we can get a bit more leverage on. Now it looks like it's loosened at this point. There. It looks like it's gone, but it's actually just rounded off. So it's at this point now where we throw in the towel and we just get the hammer and chisel. Now we can't find the big chisel, so we've got the little chisel. So we start with the little chisel, and then we go for the big one. I find it eventually, but it's blunt and it needs sharpening up. We'll be in with the chisel in a sec. Now, at the back there, you can see in the cast iron bit, there's a raised bit with a hole in it, and that is where the heat shield bolts onto, just in front of Rob's knuckle. So that is where we're going to drill and tap to get the probe in for the I'm sorry, I'm just watching Rob with the light there. That's where we're going to tap and put the probe in with the 1/2 inch NPT and the adapter for the EGT gauge. I'll show you that. Hopefully you'll get to see that. I can't remember what we recorded here, but what we're basically doing now is trying to split that nut. Unfortunately, we need a longer chisel, and there is one somewhere, but we just don't have it at this point. So it is working. It's going slowly, but you've just got to persevere. I'm sorry I can't show you any closer in detail, but unfortunately, it's not a lot of space to get in. As you can see, there's not even a lot of room to hammer. This is working at this point. I think at this point I'm in the back looking for the other chisel. I do find it, and we do get on and use it, but I have to sharpen it up, but it does a better job. It's a bigger chisel, it's got more weight in it, and it's slightly longer, so it's easy to strike. Yeah, it does look a bit like he's going to trap the skin on the side of his hand here, doesn't it? I was a bit concerned about that, and I didn't want him to hit his hand, so I was desperately looking for the other chisel. I think Rob's got the other chisel there. Yeah, there you are. It's slightly thicker chisel, and it is slightly longer, so it's easier to actually strike. But I'm still worried about him hitting his hand here. What actually happens is the nut starts to split, but it must come loose. It must get weak, comes loose, and starts to turn around. And we managed to remove it using a flat. I think we use a flat spanner in the end because the nut's pretty chewed up. I think I do show you the nut later on, so I think it may have moved now. So let's see what happens. So that's me sticking my neb in there and talking to Rob about it. I think at this point it's moved and we think it's loose. So I think we probably get in with a flat spanner, and I'm talking here now. I've removed the bloody audio from the video, so oh yeah, you can see the nut right down there. That's the nut we're trying to get off. You can see the other nuts have been removed, and you can see the other mounting areas for the heat shield. There's one at the back, two at the back, one down the side, and one on the other side. I think we want that one on the top. You can see clearly where we're going to drill and tap. So we're carrying on with the chisel. So you can see Rob's in a much better position for doing this now because he can hammer it without hitting his hand. Cast steel, the exhaust at the back there. We've got two more of those, so if we break this one doing this, it's no big deal. But we don't break it, but if we did, we've got two more of those, so it would be good. What tends to be a problem are the studs that stick out of the turbo that exhaust, those nuts that we're trying to get loose, screw onto. We've got about 4 or 5 turbos, and all of them have damaged studs. So I reckon if I have to do this again, I'll go out and buy some studs. I think this is Rob just tapping the nut because it's come loose. I think he's just tapping it round now. Because he's not hitting that very hard. There's not really a lot for me to say while we're doing this, so I think we'll just watch what's happening and then keep going from there. we can't be far off. You can tell he's moving it round now, I think. Sorry, that was me yawning, I'm tired. Started a new job this week and it's tiring me out. I'm not used to working anymore, and I'm pretty exhausted. It's the problem when you get older. You're still able to do things, you just can't recover from them anywhere near as quick as you could. You know, when I was younger, I could do this, exert myself quite substantially, especially in the Air Force. And 2 days later, I'll be ready to go again and do it again, even a day later. But today, if I exert myself, which I'm doing now in my job, I'm stuffed. I'm stuffed for the whole weekend. I'm stuffed for Monday. I've got to go to the doctor's on Monday, tomorrow morning at 10 to 9, because I've got a mole on my arm. And that mole keeps getting covered in oil and it's going a bit funny. So, but today it fell off, which is a bit odd. Anyway, that's my personal stuff. You don't need to worry about that. So I think this is Rob hammering a socket on so that we can get the nut off now, because it's turning. There isn't much nut left, to be absolutely honest. It's pretty gnarly now. But clearly we can get a socket on, and clearly we can get it undone. I have to say, out of all the things in here, that Aldi light works a treat. It lasted for about 8 hours, 6 to 8 hours, and it was recharged in about 45 minutes. And it's sitting here. And I've got it in my hand now, and it is fully charged. And red, wow, it's really bright, ready to go. Quite happy with that. One of my better purchases. There you go, you're just seeing Rob taking off the nut. No, we're chiseling again. We can't be far off getting this nut off now. The reason I've left all this in, by the way, is because this is a very realistic scenario and it might happen to you. Maybe make sure you've got a good hammer and a good chisel to hand, just in case. So I was going to skip on, but in about 30 seconds time we start undoing the nut. So I'll leave this bit in as well, because we've left the rest in. You can see him undoing the nut now. The nuts come loose and we get them with a socket and it comes off. So that's that nut off. That nut's obviously no good. We need to replace that nut with something else. So in fact I actually dropped 2 of the nuts down the back, so we've got to replace 3 of the nuts. So luckily I had some in a drawer with some locking washers. If you're going to replace them with locking, make sure you put locking washers on. The last thing you want is that to come loose. I've heard one of those come loose before and it makes an awful screeching noise. So I think we move on now. I think we're now looking at the three bolts in a triangular shape that locate the turbo to the manifold. Of course, when it's removed you'll see all this, but at this point there's 3 bolts holding it to the manifold. You can see that the banjo connection and the pipe that goes to the top of the turbo is loose. That is the oil feed pipe. So you've got the oil feed on the top, you've got the coolant feed next down, and you've got below that you've got the coolant drain, and then right at the bottom you've got the oil drain. So just so you know what they all are. Another good tip here is you don't get many copper washers with a new turbo, so be prepared to anneal. You need to anneal the copper washers on all those fittings. Now if you don't know how to anneal copper, you need a blowtorch or a gas stove or anything like that, and a piece of wire to hold your washers. Obviously they're going to get hot, and you heat them to cherry red. Once they're at cherry red, you let them cool in air, and then what it does, annealing softens the metal. So what happens to copper is it work hardens over time. So when you tighten it down into a joint and it seals, while it's in there, it work hardens, and when you take it off, you disturb it, and when you try and clamp it back down again, it's gone hard and it won't clamp. So what you have to do is anneal the copper, and what you do is you just heat it up till it's cherry red on a piece of wire, and then just stick it on the ground and let it cool down. That will allow it, makes the copper soft again and allows it to seal. So get to know how to do that. If you don't know how to do it, give me a shout and I'll send you a text on how to explain how to go about it. But there's plenty of resources on YouTube. Just look up annealing copper washers and you'll find something. So my dog's running around. You might hear some clip clopping and a bit of barking. Wife's running around and you'll hear her stomping about. She's busy ironing or something. My daughter's just come downstairs and she'll be looking for some food, so you'll hear her as well. So I apologise for any noises. It's funny with dogs because dogs make funny noises. I mean, they growl, they bark, you know, they whine, they do all sorts of stuff. But when they get old, like my dog's 15, when they get old, they make all sorts of weird noises. He's here now, and he's just wondering what I'm doing. Now he's going back out in the room again. So he's getting all excited. I think he's been out in the garden, done a poo, and he's just running around like an idiot. You wouldn't believe he was 15. I wish I could run around like that when I was his age. I can't run around at half his age like that. Yeah, so what Rob's doing here is removing the bottom two screws off the mount. Once they're off, we're good to lift the turbo out of the engine bay, and then we'll start transferring some of the parts. I have to say, it's a good job Rob was there, because I could not get my fingers onto those nuts that hold the three onto the three studs that come off the manifold. I just couldn't get my nuts on. When I refitted this, I had to get Rob back out of the house again because I could not get the nuts on. I could get the washers on, but I couldn't get the nuts on. Okay, so we're just moving you all again there because I think Rob might have knocked the camera there. I think we're ready to lift the turbo out now. I've moved around the side. I don't know what we must be discussing something, because I have no idea what we're waiting for. I think we may be discussing making sure we've got everything off. You don't need to remove the oil drain pipe, you just need to take the rubber hose off the bottom of it. That's absolutely fine, and it can come out with the turbo and then get swapped over afterwards. So what we're doing, I think we're still taking the three nuts off here. I think we might have stopped to drink coffee, so that might be what the delay was. I've cut some of the video out here anyway. Yeah, we're still undoing those nuts. Look, because Rob's undoing them there. Well, the lights just jumped on the back of the engine. I think we stand it up on the front now, so that works. It's out of the way now, it's not as bright either. I think at this point we're actually discussing drilling out the exhaust for the EGT probe. At some point along here when we're doing this, that I look at the instructions and see that it takes a 1/8 NPT tap. Now, I don't know if any of you's ever tried to buy a 1/8 NPT tap, but it is practically impossible to buy one on the high street. I think the video is going to end. I'll explain this in the next one. So in the EGT manual, it says you need a 1/8 NPT tap. So NPT stands for National Pipe Thread. But Total Tools, Sydney Tools, Bunnings, Repco, none of them had one. And I have to say they were quite expensive. Total Tools had an option where you could buy a kit for $170 and it had about 24 different taps in there, but the problem is, how many NPT taps can you ever use? We actually had a quarter inch NPT tap, which was supplied with Rob's air locker for his front diff. Now, having a quarter inch NPT tap and trying to buy an 1/8 NPT tap are two different things, and nobody had one. So we came out of Bunnings, we were a bit dismayed, we didn't know what we were going to do. Thought we were going to have to order one on eBay and wait. And because I was at Bunnings, Autobahn's in the same car park, so I just on the off chance went in there. The guy came back with a box of adapters, and he had a quarter inch NPT to 1/8 NPT. So I was okay with that. I bought that adapter, cost me $9, and that meant that we had a tap for the quarter inch. So hopefully you'll get to see this this probe in there. I don't know what we're at the moment here, but I suspect we're not far off lifting that turbo out of the car. I don't know what we're doing at the moment. We're still trying to get those nuts off. I have no idea what I just picked up there. I don't know what it was. Yeah, you can see the turbo's loose now. Rob's obviously got his other hand underneath to catch the nut and the washer once they come off, because they'll drop down into the engine and never to be seen again if you're not careful. Hey. So we're just taking the last nut off, and that looks about it there. Let's see if he drops it. I don't know what just happened there. That was a bit odd, but anyway. Yeah, he did drop it. He's trying to reach it now. Right, so off comes the turbo. So what you've got to do is you've got to lift it off the manifold, the 3 studs, and then you've got to move it to the right to get it off the 4 studs off the exhaust. Or in Rob's case, he's lifted the exhaust off and now he's just going to lift it clear. Yes, there you go. The exhaust will move around quite a bit, so you're all good. So now we're just stuck on the oil feed pipe. I think that might have been the drain pipe off the oil feed, off the oil return that we was just pulling off there. You can see the exhaust and the flap thing. Right, so we're now on the floor. You can see my power bank hanging down there. This is where we're going to be working, so we'll take it from. I think I'm going to put you down on top of the battery actually. Yeah, there you go. And there's my leg in my boot. Aren't you lucky? There's Rob stood on the stand on the stool there. That's what we used to get into the engine, because neither of us, well, who can reach? That's the thing. So there we are, clearing a bit of space, ready for the turbo to come down. Rob's having a look at it. That he's got it in his hand. That's my leg and my boot and my dirty hands. I'm just sorting out the camera, and we're going to put the turbo down on that bit of plain brown paper there. There we go. There's the old turbo. So that's an original turbo. I'm pointing at the oil return pipe, which is needs to be taken off, a new gasket put on and refitted. That gasket I've just removed at this point is the exhaust gasket that we have to reuse that, so it's just as well we kept it, although the manifold gasket is still on the manifold, and we can replace that one. So what I'm doing here, I'm about to remove the drain pipe from the bottom. Rob's turning the we're basically discussing if there's anything wrong with it, but there's quite a bit of play in it. I'm removing the oil return pipe. You get a new gasket for the oil return pipe, but mine was leaking anyway. Wasn't that tight, I have to say. Could have been tighter. So I'll give that a clean with a bit of brake cleaner, and don't know what Rob's just handed to me, maybe the gasket. No, what is that? Oh, 2 bolts. They're the 2 bolts that were holding it on. The mating faces where the gasket's been are relatively clear. So I reckon here we're just discussing the merits of the turbo, comparing it to the new one, the old one, looking at what we've done, looking at what could be wrong. We'll just watch and see what happens. So what we're doing here is we're checking the references on the plates. I'm just trying to clean it up a bit, see if we can read what it says. Obviously on the new turbo it's very clear. But having said that, nothing matches, so we just ignore it. Now I've turned it round the same way as the other turbo. You can see they're quite similar. There's not a lot of difference between the two. I think we're looking at end play here. We decided there was a little bit of end play, but it would be taken up when the oil got in there, because obviously the oil will support the metal a little bit. So we're pretty much just discussing the differences between the turbos and what might have gone wrong. I think Rob was saying that he hopes it wasn't one of these Chinese turbos that just goes bang when you first start them up. I was a bit skeptical of that, because this company seemed to be pretty legit, and I reckon they've got a lot of reputation resting on things like this. They probably want to sell a lot of these turbos in Australia, and this is a good avenue for them. And Rob was saying that, you know, if it turns out to be a good turbo, they'll have a good market with the Jackaroo crew, you know. Anyway, I think that's me cleaning out the oil drain pipe, and I think it was pretty flat for the new gasket, so it'd be good. So I think the next job after doing the cleaning out the drain pipe, and I think we've got to shift over the studs. So it means removing the studs from the old turbo and inserting them into the new turbo. Now, I don't know if you know how to remove studs, but it's quite simple. You use 2 nuts. I'll probably show you this in a minute, but we'll see. I think what Rob's doing at this point is checking the end float on the turbo, and there wasn't a lot. But if you turn it slightly, then there's 1/2 mil. So I can see why it could have been getting stuck. And I think Rob rattles it here and he says, that feels like almost like a millimetre to me. Well, when you look at the specs, that's way out of spec. So I think if it's more than 1/2 millimetre, there's 1/2 millimetre tolerance of the side of the compressor blades to the wall of the turbo, and if it's moving too far, that could easily catch and cause the flat spot that I've been experiencing. I have, since recording this video, I've been out on a test drive, and there's no flat spot anymore. So what Rob's saying here now is that there's a bit of movement in the new turbo too, and a bit of end play, but he said, but we decided that would get taken up by the oil, and we do discover that the oil does take that up. Okay, so now we're on the removal of the studs. So the way this works is you lubricate them up, you get some WD-40 on, which is what's in the spray bottle, bulk WD-40, and you spray them up. Alright, so here we go, we're spraying them up with some oh, I don't know what we're doing now. Yeah. Try and get some penetrating oil in there. Again, like with the nuts, you can move them in and out and try and get some lubrication to the threads, and they'll come out a lot quicker. So what I'm doing here is attempting to screw a nut down the stud. So Rob's spraying the top side, just give them a bit of lubrication, because they're pretty dry, these studs. Right, so as long as you can turn them on by hand, it's all good. So you turn them on, you have enough thread to get a second nut on, and you put two nuts on together. You can't really see it, but that's what we're doing. And then you tighten them against each other. Put the 13 on. Go on then.
Tighten?
Yeah. Okay. Gonna take some doing, I think. I might have to heat it.
Blowtorch, you say? So. Well, they're stuck together pretty well. But I might tighten this down a bit more. And then tighten it together again.
I'll have to undo them first. If you can line them up, you can sometimes get a socket over both.
Yeah. It's not doing it, is it?
I can't tell.
No, it's not bad.
So maybe I have to go stick it in a vice, Rob.
It's not turning the. What is it? Yeah, it is.
Does it? Yeah, it's turning it.
Couldn't see it. It wasn't until I put my finger on it and felt it turn.
If it starts to go tight, you might have to screw it back in and then out again.
Well, that's your afternoon sorted.
Ugga dugga, mate. I would tighten the two together so they line up and stick the ugga dugga on it. I'll get the ugga dugga. It's in the bag there.
Might snap it though.
Well, it might, but it'll put more of an effort on it than we can.
What is done there? Loosen.
13. That wasn't a good idea putting all these in here. 12. 13 in here somewhere. 13. Well, it undid it a little bit.
Mm.
Yeah, I'll strip back down. Too tight. If you hold the bottom one, we turn it and get it nipped up so it'll go together. I'll hold the bottom one.
Yeah. That's what I was trying to do before, but
Hang on. Put your finger. That's it. That's it. It's not far off it, but it's not enough, is it? Don't bend the stud though. A bit more.
I reckon it might be slipping there though. Don't like that. I don't think that spanner's any good.
Well, mine.
Yeah.
King's one of it.
I think it's too big.
About it there, Rob. See if it'll fit over. Gee, that's smoking! Be hot, Rob. So that spanner's rubbish.
Yeah, hang on.
Looks splayed out, doesn't it?
I reckon.
Look at it.
Yeah, the nut was. Can you see that?
It's way out, isn't it? I'll replace them with some other spanners because they're crap.
Took a mill out.
Yeah. Shall I go get one of yours?
Yeah, okay. Although we've got the Agadaga, so might not need it.
Oh, true. We have.
We have to.
Yeah.
I think we have to put this one in.
I'll put it in the vise. Put it into this one.
Yeah.
You think we should put some
Yeah, I reckon we should.
of that copper coat on?
Yeah.
Sorry, lad. Yeah, better get it. It's over here, I think.
Jeez, I'm hungry now.
You hungry? Oh God, there's stuff everywhere. My knees aren't working anymore.
That's all I've got back here.
Oh, it's out the exhaust, I think. Oh, it needs washing. I'm gonna go out in it tomorrow, so I'll wash it then. That copper coat's good for about.
We got that off Chris.
Even in high temperature environments. What, this?
Yeah.
We used to use this in the Air Force, but it was called copper coat, not anti-seize. But this is made in Australia, New South Wales. Right, UNESCO. Copper powder. Somewhere on here it will tell you how much. And corrosion even in high temperature environments. Doesn't tell you. Oh, 1,000 degrees. So it'd be good. If it gets to 1,000 degrees, I'll know now, and I'll be able to pull over. We may have to just grip hold of it, you know, Rob, with the pliers. there's two holes here.
Different
Applications.
I think the 4J GT1, G2.
Is it coming up?
I don't know if it's
Just reach in there, Rob, and get the big grips out.
So one of the issues here is getting the nuts off the stud once they're back in, once it's into its new location. This is what we're having trouble with here.
Yeah. Didn't work, did it? We've got lots of slots in the groove now. Let's put it back in again. Are you ready? Okay. Coming up. Is it working? Yeah.
but it ready?
Yeah.
Turning it.
Bloody hell. It's come off slightly.
Yeah. I'm gonna have to do it again, aren't I?
Yeah, you can put it in. That's no big deal.
Does it need to be tight?
Well, it's got to be not majorly tight, but is that nut turned or something? Do you want me to do it, do you? Alright?
Yep.
Is it just me it's weak?
Yep.
Thanks, Rob.
Not really, no.
Well, they're alright. They get a lot of heat though, don't they?
I don't know what that nut was.
They're not actually the right nuts, are they? Well, they're the nuts that came off the internal ones.
Yeah, but it's the same thread.
It's the same thread, but
Alright, that's one down.
yeah, let's do the others.
I don't know how tight he is in there, but it should be enough that you can clamp it down.
Alright, yeah, it'll be enough. It doesn't need to go in there tight.
Yeah, that's
Just as long as it's in, you know, and nipped up. Where's the other nut, Rob? It won't stand up. Which is fine. You want to do that one?
Nut knackers, is that one?
Well, it looks alright.
This one goes on.
You put that one on first then. This one's
It's
as
kinda
good as
tight. No, not really. If you can't put it on by hand, there's something wrong. Just like that.
That might be the one you was chiseling though.
It was, yeah.
Well, that's tight. I think that nut's at it.
I reckon it might need some nuts.
Right, I reckon you're right. Yeah, because that goes straight on. It's a little bit tighter, but it's not too bad. Goes right on that one.
Yeah, that's the one I was chiseling.
Flat to flat. The problem is you can't get the ugger dugger on them because they've got the ridges on them. If you cut,
These
You
are
like-
12 mil as well.
are they?
Yeah.
There's a 12mm spanner somewhere. Where's the 12mm spanner? It was here.
I've got one.
Oh, you've got it there. We only had one. So let's you hold the underneath and I'll nip it up. We'll try and nip them together. Let's try that, Rob, see if it comes out. Yeah, it is. That was a lot easier, wasn't it?
Now, a bit of copper coat, wind them in. So, which hole do you reckon?
put it in this one.
Yeah. And then the top one on that side.
Can you put the spanner on that, Rob, and we'll take it out again. Ooh, don't want to drop that in there. That one was a lot easier, wasn't it?
Yeah.
That's how they all should be, that. Right, let's do another one. That must be, you have to spanner that on a bit, it must be the one you did the, well, actually let's do the other one first.
Let's save the best till last.
Yeah, let's get it knackered the nuts. We'll need it to get this.
By the way, you're going to have to buy a new one too.
You want to put spanner on it, Rob? It worked alright, that, didn't it? Right, let's give it a go. Can't see if it's turning. No. Ready? Ready? No?
Over the spanner. Go, keep going.
It's going, I think. Oh, it just overwhelmed it a bit. Try it again.
Tighten it up.
Okay. It is trying to turn it. Can you get it from there? I can't really see whether it's doing it or not. Jam it against that other one. Put it below the threads though. Probably you can't hold the turbo when you're putting all the leverage on it.
It's getting to a point and sticking, I reckon.
Yeah, not through is it now? Try and get some of that lubricant in, that would help it. Can't tell if it's even turning now.
It turned a little bit.
Come on again. Coming now.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry. Okay. It just vibrates it off. Starting to see more threads.
Yeah, it's coming.
Let's get a bit more of this on. working its way in. I think they just get dry, don't they? With the heat and stuff. It doesn't look very straight, that one either.
No, it doesn't, does it?
No. It'll be alright.
No, it's not straight at all. But it's bent after the nuts.
Looks like there's some thread on that rub. It's knackered, that, actually, if you look at the bottom.
Oh yeah.
Isn't it?
Yeah.
One of them. You think there'll be any in that box?
I reckon it might be.
Just screw that in and
I don't really know.
no, I just want to loosen the nuts off it. I don't want to loosen them off it.
Yeah.
What?
It's getting a bit warm, that guy.
Yeah, this is getting warm.
I've snapped these off before, so we're doing more.
Is it a little end that goes in? Yeah. I've gone a bit wild with that, haven't I?
Yeah, I don't know who's cooking, but it's time.
I wonder if I can smell it, yeah. Smells Asian-y, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Probably next door. Oh. Did you bring the Ugga Dugga back? No.
Yeah, didn't take it in there, mate.
No, I'm talking to me. Put that one on. Here's the 12mm lad. It is loose, it just wasn't quite loose enough. Needed a bit of leverage. There you go. Stick them on. Oh God. My new turbo. This is where we need a proper workbench, isn't it?
Yeah.
Just to do this sort of thing on.
Space for a couple of those. If we didn't have both cars in there, it would be the perfect space.
It would be a lot better, wouldn't it?
But yeah, we just don't have.
I just wish I had the money to rent a workshop. Alright? Give it a go.
That one looks alright.
In a bit though. Smoking! See if we can burn a bit of this stuff.
Yeah. 1,000 degrees is pretty hot, David.
It is.
I reckon it's
1,000 degrees is 1,000 degrees, Rob.
how hot does steel have to get before it melts?
I don't know, but I reckon aluminium would melt before 1,000 degrees.
Aluminium will melt.
This
on a
one,
hot
wasn't
day.
it?
Yeah, top one.
Do you want to just check with the
No, it's definitely not.
gasket? I don't think that was going to screw in. It doesn't feel right, just check that. No, it's too tight. You can do it. The thread on there looks alright. If it won't go in, I might go get another stud. See if I can find another stud.
That's the one that came out of here, though, isn't it?
It is. Which is why I want to go in though. I don't want to force something.
No, of course not.
I'll see if I can find another stud. It's nice to have all these turbos kicking around, I have to say.
Yeah, I keep them for that reason.
I know you do, yeah.
Spins. Yeah, this one's the one that I couldn't use because
Snapped off.
yeah, and I needed this housing.
The problem is that's cast steel, isn't it? So I've seen them where they've been stuck into. They've got steel bolts stuck in cast iron heads, and if you can weld a steel bolt, it won't weld to the cast iron.
Yeah, so
But that won't work on that, would it?
and these are stainless.
Oh, are they?
So you can't drill it very well. But
Have you got the nuts, Rob?
on it.
Are they stuck on there?
Yeah. I was wondering if before we do this we should try and run the die and the tap.
Well, we could try it.
Make sure that all the holes are good.
Yeah, we could try it. Have we got a tap and die? Oh. You gone in? Lovely job. Is it too loose now?
I don't think so. I mean the threads look okay, don't they?
They do. Just been cleaned up, hasn't it?
It was probably just a little bit rusty or something and it was making it bigger.
Yeah.
I reckon we could have probably driven it in, but
Where's the cloth, Rob?
you don't want to wreck your
Yeah. I just needed to know what was causing the issue. Snip it up with a spanner. Alright. Want to just no.
Just vibrate it off.
Should be able to get that one.
Yeah, both ways,
Done.
yeah, even though it's a shit tap and die set, it's still worth its weight in gold.
Yeah, when it fixes a problem like that, it's worth every cent, isn't it? Right, that's that then.
It was only like $20 or something when I bought it, like
So,
10 years ago.
what else do we need to do? We need to take that out and put the gasket on. Gaskets are in the car. Oh no, I didn't wear my gloves, Rob. What am I going to do?
No, that's just to fill the oil up.
Right.
I reckon we have a break and get a coffee.
Yeah.